I would say is come out with me onto the streets of North London or South London any given night, and I will show you how disempowering prostitution is. They are not empowered. They are in what we call survival mode. So this is survival sex. There is no one route in to the sex industry, but there are what I would call common denominators. It could literally happen to anyone.
Helena Croft is the founder and CEO of award-winning charity Streetlight UK, supporting women who wish to exit prostitution. She's a former council deputy leader and expert in understanding sexual violence and the exploitation of women. Having worked with some of the most vulnerable and marginalised women within communities for over 25 years, she's highlighted issues related to domestic abuse, separated families and the impact of prostitution. And Helena joins me now. Helena, thank you so much for joining me today. Can you share what led you to start this work?
So the work that I'm involved in, Streetlight UK, it was really motivated by compassion and by a need, essentially, because I could see that there was a big gap in terms of the work that needed to be done. And everyone that I asked, professionals, police, local authorities, other NGOs, nobody really had a grip on what the real problem was. So I started doing some research, and that's how, the work came about. But really it's motivated by compassion and a need to actually sort of roll up my sleeves and do something about it.
So Helena, how does stigma around prostitution affect women's ability to speak openly about coercion, pregnancy and abortion?
Oh, the stigma's huge. I mean, it has a massive impact on women disclosing really anything, whether that's to do with pregnancy, abortion, or even to do with just their involvement in the sex industry. The stigma is a massive barrier for women, and it's actually a massive barrier for them exiting the sex industry as well. Once that line has been crossed, there's a lot of shame that comes on top of that, and the stigma then, the stigma out in society, it sort of causes this to be continued, if you like.
Sure. What do you say to those who claim that prostitution is empowerment, it's freedom of choice?
Well, what I would say is come out with me onto the streets of North London or South London any given night, and I will show you how disempowering prostitution is. I think, the narrative that's out there in the public domain really pushes this empowerment message, which guaranteed for a few, it will be true, but for the vast, vast majority, and you're talking of 105,000, that's the sort of government figures of people involved in prostitution. And really that is the tip of the iceberg. It's very hard to put a number on it. But for the vast majority of women, they are not empowered. They are in what we call survival mode. So this is survival sex. And, the only people empowered actually are the sex buyers and those that are coercing and controlling.
And have you encountered situations where women in prostitution have been pressured into abortions, by pimps, by traffickers?
Yes, I think we've come across that issue. I can't say that it's a hugely prevalent issue, but there are cases where we know that is the case. Because, of course, while a woman is pregnant, they do work actually right up until pretty much they give birth, which is unbelievable. But we see that regularly, women on the streets here in London and in other parts of the country across the United Kingdom, where they're prostituting themselves right up until that sort of last moment. But inevitably, where there's money involved, there's a power dynamic and that exploitation takes place.
You revealed, I think, statistics that 1 in 10 men pay for sex in the UK. I remember seeing that at the festival where I actually first encountered you, and I was quite shocked. Have your courses for men been able to reduce these numbers? Thank you, as you do courses.
I wish I could say that they had. But we're talking, if you take those stats, 1 in 10, you're talking of millions. You know, it's a high number of men. We've taken over 300 men through our course, which is no small number. And we do get a 95% success rate. In one borough, we've got a 100% success rate. And we know that from the National Police Crime Database, where if men were rearrested, then it would flag up on the system. But to make a change to those statistics, it's going to take more than one course run by a specialist service like Streetlight. We need a mass scale awareness raising and education programme for men and for young people before they sort of get into becoming a sex buyer.
And what are the types of, I suppose, backgrounds that people are coming from when they enter into the sex industry? Because some people might think, oh, maybe it's for people who come from maybe less well-off family, but can you talk a bit more on that?
I mean, there is no one route in to the sex industry, but there are what I would call common denominators. So things like poverty, financial pressure, lack of education. 70% of those involved have come through the care system. So that's something we're working with various providers at the moment to address, because there's obviously a huge failing going on within our care system and looked after children that's causing 70% of those involved in the sex industry to have come through the care system. So but there is no one route in. I mean, I've got 2 daughters, and it could literally happen to anyone. We met one woman, just to give you an example of that, who she could have been my daughter. She brought up in a lovely home, loving parents, supportive family, fairly affluent. She just met the wrong guy. Fell in love with the wrong guy at age 18. It took her 22 years to get out of the sex industry from that one wrong relationship, if you like. And it took her 22 years to get free from that relationship, because he ultimately went on to pimp her and exploit her within the sex industry.
That's shocking, and it's so common as well. You know, it's really, really devastating to hear that. But I'm relieved that she's out of it. And with the rise of OnlyFans now online, like, what's your take on that?
Well, we've done a little bit of work with media and educators about OnlyFans. And let's be clear, OnlyFans is just prostitution. That's what it is. Previously it was escort agencies. That was the latest thing. And for every sort of generation, there's a new term. It's a slightly different model in the sense that it's meant to be all online and non-physical, but of course it crosses over into the physical. And of course it's a subscription-based model. So rather than an individual paying for that one sexual experience, they are subscribing to a channel where they can log on and they can get that sexual experience on camera again and again and again. Most women involved in it are sold an absolute lie. They believe that they can make millions, like the Bonnie Blues and the Lily Phillips of this world. Interestingly, having watched some of their documentaries, they display exactly the same signs of trauma that some of the women we're supporting who are on the streets of London earning £10, £20 a night. So the results in the women's lives, the trauma that they experience is the same. And I think we need to call it out, OnlyFans, for what it is. The fact to say that it's safer because it's behind a camera is not true. And actually many women spend years, if not the rest of their lives, looking over their shoulders, thinking that someone's stalking them or someone's used that footage online, which they do, and then they try to extort money and blackmail people. So there are different issues attached to it, but essentially it is the sex industry. It is a form of prostituting yourself.
Yeah, and how might pro-life charities and anti-prostitution charities work together to offer alternatives to women who feel that abortion is their only option?
I think joined up partnership working is at the heart of us really changing things, actually. We can't do it. No one charity or organisation or even the police or the statutory bodies, they can't tackle this in isolation. So we have to work together. We work with probably thousands of partners across the United Kingdom now. And it's the only way to really address what are a set of complex issues normally in women's lives. It's not one issue. It might be that they are, they've got housing problems, they've got relationship problems, they've got money problems, they've maybe got some mental health issues. So we've got to look at the whole holistic approach to how we support women and how we tackle this. I think we do need a national advertising campaign that really sets out the harms and sets out the issues as to why this is not something that we as a society should be tolerating.
I agree 100%. And with the church and breaking stigma, how did you find going in there and trying to talk about your work?
Well, interestingly, I first started speaking about this issue in a church setting. And what amazed me was two things. Well, probably three. Firstly, that no one was speaking about it in church. The second issue was that the church pews were actually full of women who it was a hidden shame and a hidden secret. So they'd not told anyone, their vicar, their pastor, sometimes even their husbands, were not aware. So many women feeling that they couldn't bring that out in a church context, which is sad. I find that sad. And then thirdly, what I saw was a huge rise of compassion within a church setting, with other individuals coming to me when I raised the issue and I started speaking about it across the country. People coming to me and saying, thank you for speaking about this, for shining a light on this, because we want to do something about it. And so really helping support other people and often women, but some men as well, to set up groups, organisations, charities to address this issue.
Do you think then that pills by post will make abortion more common in prostitution?
Oh, 100%. I mean, anything that you do to make it easy, people will take the route of least resistance. They will take the easy option. So pills by post, I think, is very wrong. And it just facilitates something that we already know is harmful. So, it should be addressed.
And it's an abuser's dream, I would say.
Absolutely. I mean, we're just sort of handing it to them on a plate, really, aren't we?
Yeah. Helena, have you seen a reduction in the amount of women entering into prostitution, or has it been as high as ever, if that makes sense?
Do you know, I wish I could say that. And one day I'm hoping in my lifetime that I will be able to say that. But no, it's the opposite, sadly. And I always say I wish that organisations like ours didn't have to exist, but the need is growing. It's growing year on year. We are only able to really support a fraction of the women that we know are involved. It's not enough what the government, what the local authorities, what even the police and others are doing. It's not enough. It's almost a token response, I feel. And some of that is because of the narrative around the issue, where it's seen as the oldest profession, it's seen as choice, as opposed to human trafficking, which is seen as exploitation. But I always use the argument that, if the choice is to put food on the table, or to put a roof over your heads or shoes on your children's feet, that is not genuine choice. And so we need to recognise the harms and the need and the vulnerabilities of those involved.
Do you work with other organisations across Europe, Helena?
We do, yeah. We work with many organisations, other organisations doing what we're doing. So we're part of a network across the United Kingdom. It's a small network because there are not many organisations like us nationally, but we work multi-agency with all the different organisations you can imagine. So mental health, sexual health, housing, drug and substance misuse, and a whole variety of NGOs.
And what gives you the courage to keep doing this work? Because you're going into quite a dark, industry, and you're trying to bring light and help women. But I'm sure you're faced with people who don't like to see you coming, like pimps, and certain individuals who don't want you in these brothels, in these Airbnbs. How do you stay strong and courageous in those moments?
Well, I'm very much a glass half full kind of person. So I think you have to be working with trauma every day. And so as an organisation, within our staff, our teams, our volunteers, we always approach things from an optimistic, hope-filled approach, because there are answers. There are things that we can do to bring real change and real difference. And, every week and every month, we have things to celebrate. We have stories of women who have overcome. So they are the ones that really motivate me and my team to do what we do. They're the reason, because we know that we can make a difference.
Do you find it hard to get funding for your work?
Well, the current backdrop of funding is pretty horrific, I have to say. And like many other charities, we rely on trusts, foundations, some government money through the statutory bodies, but it's a shrinking pot and it's an increasing need because there's more people going for the same money. So we're in funding gaps at the moment, in the sense that funding has just stopped that was in place, and we're seeking more funding. And it's a constant battle, I'll be honest. It is a constant battle. And I think because we're not a nice, neat kind of issue, we're not an easy issue to talk about as well. We have to fight extra hard.
I can relate, to what you're saying there, Helena. Where can people find out more information about how to volunteer and support the work that you're doing?
Well, no, thank you for asking. They can go to our website, which is all the W's, and then streetlight.uk.com. They can also, I've written a book about our story which goes into a lot more detail, and it arms particularly professionals with all the latest data in the UK. So they can go to Amazon for that and find out about that. That's called No Little Girl's Dream. And they can also, just sign up to any events that we're at. Have a look at our website. There's loads of information on there. There's a volunteering page where they can sign up directly on the site as well.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Helena, for your time, and thanks for everything that you do. You're doing incredible work. So bless you.
Thank you.